Welcome back to episode 12. Jungkook Taehyung yelled through the house as he vaulted down the stairs. He was out of breath before he had even reached the bottom. His belly was huge and he was so done with it already. His feet was swollen and he pretty sure knew he didn't have that pregnancy glow anymore. It was mostly sweat. By now, the last weeks had flown by. Now at 38 weeks, he was ready to pop the kid out. It had been kicking non-stop. At first, every kick was something joyful and he would call Jungkook every time it happened. But right now it felt mostly unpleasant with it kicking right in his rib cage. The first little kid he had felt. They both waited until their little bean would kick again, and after half an hour, Taehyung felt it again. This time, Jungkook had planted his hand on his big bump as he was overjoyed. His eyes were with amazement as he crashed Taehyung's belly. He would whisper sweet nothing to his belly, and Taehyung would stalk his fingers through Jungkook's hair as they felt the little kicks. They had stayed like that for a while, and Jungkook would lie his ear on the soft skin and listen to their heartbeats. It would occasionally kiss his skin, and it made Taehyung blush furiously from the extremely soft gesture. Kicks after that were mostly spent the time he couldn't find any comfortable position and couldn't even stand Jungkook's touch anymore. He had been so and first months, but now when a 0 to Jungkook's disappointment, Taehyung had seen how Jungkook had looked at him now that he had grown a watermelon on his stomach, and if he wasn't so uncomfortable, he would have let Jungkook have his way with him, but he just couldn't stand it. Right now, he was looking at the sad man he had been on the phone with Hobie in their room. The boy had been so worried when he had told him he would move back home and everything that had happened. Hobie had been his school. Hobie had informed him about what he had missed and had sent him his assignment to do at home. He would start college again after his child was born, but for now he wanted to have done most of the work already. Hobie helped him through it, and he was thankful that he didn't have to drop out like this. He had finished the phone call, and when he walked down the stairs, he had heard undefining noises coming from the backyard. He thought Jungkook would be out there, so he waddled over to the sliding doors. The big curtains were covering the door, and he felt chairs run over unknown region. The house has been awful quiet, and he didn't like that at all. The certain move as Jungkook Taehyung called out, uncertain as a little on edge. He walked over to the sliding door, holding his belly as he winced. He had been having little cramps for the last half an hour, and he wasn't sure what they were. He had had them before, and Jungkook had panicked when he told him about it, but it was always false alarm. Right now he still had 2 weeks to go, but the little cramps were not going away, and it worried him a little. He needed Jungkook to reassure him. He opened the curtains, but before he could step out, he was pushed back. Taehyung stumbled back into the house. He opened his mouth to yell, but before he could, mouth was covered. Eyes within at Jungkook, who was holding his finger against his mouth, telling him to shush. Taehyung struggled in confusion as Jungkook held him and walked them silently back up the stairs. He was still holding a hand over Taehyung's mouth, and he walked them into their walk-in closet. "What are you doing?" Taehyung yelled at Jungkook when he pushed his hand from his face. "There is someone here," Jungkook whispered as he set Taehyung down in the corner. He was looking around tinkly as he pushed some buttons and a little door opened on the wall. He pulled out a weapon and knives and looked back one more for Taehyung apologetically. Who? Taehyung asked confusedly. He didn't understand it at all, and the way Jungkook was acting made him only more nervous. He couldn't possibly tell Jungkook now that he was probably having constructions. They had on other things to worry about. Apparently, maybe it was again false alarm and they would disappear soon. He looked up at Jungkook, who pushed the weapon in the back of his pants and slipped the jacket back on. I don't know. I'm going to find out now. Stay here, Jungkook said as he kissed Taehyung's forehead and walked out of the closet. Taehyung was once again seated in silence. He was slowly pressing his belly to erase the ash as he tried to breathe slowly. He waited like Jungkook told him, but he was anxious. Who could be? A loud thud startled Taehyung and he gasped. Jungkook, he yelled without thinking. Hands shot up, he groaned as another stabbing pain crossed through his lower belly. He walked to their bedroom and pulled his own weapon out of the nightstand. Jungkook had taught him. He just hoped he didn't have to use it. He held it tightly. His heart hummed in the chest as he was once again quiet. He walked to the stairs and he waited, holding his breath as well as possible. Once again there was a loud gun and something crashing. This time Taehyung felt the cold sweat run down his back. He hoped that Jungkook was alright. He slowly slid down the stairs. Not he stood on the bottom of the soft water. As much as his body let him, he to the door to the living room. He heard some noises again, and his heart thumped in his chest. His body trembled, and the pain was slowly growing worse in the belly. He held back his pimples and covered his mouth so he wouldn't make a noise the Jungkook had told him about. He slowly peeked around the corner and his eyes widened. He wanted to scream, but he knew he couldn't. He watched as Jungkook was fighting with a man completely in black and saw everywhere who it was. He didn't know, but he knew he needed to do something. He looked down at his weapon in his hand and whimpered. Could he do this? If he had been in another situation, he looked rather hard to watch, but this was his man getting attacked. Jungkook was blowing kicks and punches while the other man did the same. Both obviously trained men and both not ready to give up the fight. His newly decorated flower was laid down on the ground and the couch was pushed over. He needed to make his head clear to make decision and close his eyes. He pulled his hand up, which was holding the weapon. He tried to get his hand to stop trembling. He held it in both hands and aimed. He hoped that he was doing was right. He had just noticed the big cut on Jungkook's shoulder and the sweat breathing down his face. He was probably fighting through the pain and it pained the Omega's heart. He breathed in once again and aimed. 3, 2, 1. Then let the breath loose and pulled the trigger. Loud bang echoes through the room and gone right after. Taehyung opened his tightly closed eyes after he had shot and dropped the weapon. He yelped as the pain soothed his belly. He groaned and held his belly tightly. He stared at Jungkook with a surprised face. Right next to him was a man with seeping out his head. Jungkook, Taehyung screamed as he bit his lips. He walked over to Jungkook and fell down. Baby, what's happening? Jungkook pulled Taehyung against him and watched as his pants were starting to get. He had just witnessed how his Omega had just shot the intruder in his head, and next thing he knew, he was holding a going Omega in his arms once again. A startled laugh escaped Taehyung's lips as he tried to breathe in slowly. I think it's coming. he cried out, and Jungkook froze right now. Really? Taehyung looked up at Jungkook with tears in his eyes as they were. "You are hurt," he said in distress and tried to stop the bleeding on Jungkook's shoulder. Jungkook winced and groaned as he felt Taehyung's finger probe on the wound. "It's alright, baby. Let's get you to the hospital first. He can wait." "This can wait," Jungkook growled and pulled Taehyung up in his arms as he held him against him. Namjoon rushed in and with Yoongi right behind him. "So, we have got them all. We are going." What's happening?" Namjoon said, but stopped when he saw how Taehyung was leaning against Jungkook, both covered in blood and floor all weight beneath them. He watched as Taehyung was trying to contain his groan while he held his belly. "Taehyung is going on to labor. We need to rush to the hospital now," Jungkook yelled, and he walked them quickly to the garage. "Jungkook, your arm, you need to get it checked and at the hospital too," Yoongi said as they walked after them. Jungkook helped Taehyung into the car and he checked if they had everything they needed. He had already prepared the car and suitcase weeks ago, and he was glad he did right now because who would have thought this would happen? He was sweating and trying to think through the pain. He too was panicking. Taehyung was not due yet at all and scared him. "Take care of everything here. I need to go now," Jungkook said, and Namjoon and Yoongi nodded before heading off. Jungkook climbed onto the car. "I don't want to crash," Taehyung screamed at him as he had he slapped Jungkook's shoulder and gone. Jungkook slowed down a bit and focused on getting to the hospital safely. He would look over at Taehyung every time he would tense up and started crying again. He would squeeze his leg but was slapped by Taehyung when he did that. He held Taehyung, completely forgetting about his own wants, but when they rushed inside, people gasped, nurses rushing to their side and helped Taehyung into the wheelchair. "He is on labor, but not due yet," Jungkook said, out of breath. "So we will take care of him, but we need to stitch up you too." No, I'm not leaving him," Jungkook said as he pushed the nurses away and walked after Taehyung, who was pushing to the delivery room. "So please, you are bleeding," one of the nurses said as she pressed the cloth on Jungkook's shoulder. "No, help him first. He wasn't going to leave his Omega alone and in pain." Who rushed after Taehyung and held his hand. Taehyung looked up at Jungkook. His lips trembled. "Please don't leave. I'm scared." His eyes were filled with tears. "I'm here, baby. I wouldn't leave you alone," Jungkook whispered, and they rushed to the delivery room. Nurses were still trying to get Jungkook to go to them to get the shoulder patch up, but he wasn't. One of the nurses stopped and pulled Jungkook back. "If you are not leaving, then we will have to do it here." Jungkook was sure he was breaking a few of his fingers, but he wouldn't let it be on his face. Taehyung needed his full support now. Taehyung was pushed on his side as he held still and didn't like seeing the Omega in pain. You will stay with me, right? Taehyung whispered, and Jungkook leaned in to kiss his sweaty forehead. I wouldn't ever leave you alone. He raised his hand and with his thumb as they looked at each other. Taehyung was once again rushed to the operation room and they were preparing to deliver the baby. He was laid on the cold and hard table and was covered. When he was bandaged up, he had to go clean his hands and had to wear a mask and hairnet and apron before he was once again at Taehyung's side. Taehyung couldn't feel the end of his body anymore. Taehyung couldn't feel the of his body anymore and he felt the pain in a way. Jungkook held Taehyung's hand and he kissed his lips softly. The doctor popped his head over the screen and smiled at Taehyung. Ready to meet your baby? Taehyung only nodded with a smile and looked at Jungkook. Okay, we are going to start. It will be done soon, the doctor said and went back behind the screen. You're going to be okay, Jungkook whispered and sat close to the bed. Taehyung felt a weird sensation and tugged on his belly before he felt something being pulled out. His heart beat quickly and he just a few seconds after a loud cry was heard throughout the room. Taehyung's breath hinged as his tears just fell down his cheeks and he started to cry. He smiled at Jungkook and Jungkook smiled back at him. With tears in his eyes too, the screen was pushed down. Their tiny baby was laid on Taehyung's chest. Taehyung cried as he could finally hold their little bundle of joy in his arms. It was still crying loudly, but his little head lied on his chest and Taehyung crashed. Taehyung also couldn't believe he saw the blink rapidly. His heart was overwhelming with love for the little bundle. Already he felt so proud and of his Omega for giving him the greatest gift in life, something made out of love. Jungkook and Taehyung on flesh, and he watched how it was tracing on Taehyung's chest. He but down there. Congratulations, the nurse said as she was watching the newly turned parents. Jungkook looked at her and nodded thanks. He quickly looked back, only having eyes for the little bundle on Taehyung's chest. The nurse glanced. Don't you want to know what is it? She walked over to Taehyung and slowly took the little baby from Taehyung's chest so they could see. The both didn't mind if it was a boy or girl, as long as it was healthy, but when they looked, they smiled. Big brown eyes stared into the mirror as his hands fixed the body. His hands trembled a bit and you could hear the ragged breath, and the man was taking fingers nervously fixed his jacket and fluttered out every fold. There could be. It had been so perfect. The soft giggle that near the room pulled him out. His dress and door was burst open by the little chubby fingers. Steady, a little voice yelled, and her little legs carried her over and into the man's arms. Hey, little girl, he whispered into the giggling girl's ear. She gripped. You look so beautiful. Has your dad seen you yet? He stroked the fingers through her dark hair and felt the little bow and had been precisely placed in the end of breath. Little slipped past her lips, which made them only laugh more. The only things he had been able to say he properly was Jima and Dad, and the rest was just sounds combined. But she could hold a full conversation with you without even knowing. And says what she is saying. She was the most adorable girl in the age I will ever. Inside, his mom smiled and she fixed his bow tie and straightened his jacket once more. Her fingers stopped and gripped his jacket. She looked up at them with teary eyes. I wish you all the happiness in the world, my boy, she said, as her voice almost disappeared in the end of the sentence. Mom, don't cry. Now I will start to think lunch, but he was also trying to hold back his tears. She clenched his toe and stood on her toe to kiss Taehyung's forehead. Ready, she said once more and let him go. She held little Leona's hand and then walked over to the door. She glanced back once more and nodded. Little Leona waved back at Taehyung and Taehyung smiled at her, waving. Alone with his thoughts, he took a deep breath and closed his eyes. When he opened them once again, a soft smile appeared on his face. Behind the door, Jungkook was waiting for him, the love of his life, the man he was going to spend the rest of his life, the father to the most beautiful girl in the world, his peer, his mate. After today, he would be officially called Mr. Jian, and he just couldn't wait. Waited for this day too long, waited until Yuna was old enough, waited for the right moment. To be continued. See you in the next episode. It is going to be the last episode of this series. Hope you enjoyed it. See you tomorrow, and then I will start a new story. Hope you will enjoy that too. See you again. Bye bye. Love you. Bye.